So let's paint a picture. So you just finished re-rolling. You got a nice little collection of cards set up, but you're noticing that none of it really works together. You don't really have the full pieces needed to make a complete deck. I want to show you a deck that you can probably build straight out of the gate, and if you don't have every piece, that you can at least make do with what pieces you do have. So the deck that I'm talking about is a Nova Grappler deck. It focuses around the rare grade 3 gold Rutile. The goal of the deck is to use gold Rutile's ability of when he hits, you can counterblast 2 and restand a rearguard. And then if a rearguard hits, you can countercharge. We're going to use him to get extra hits on each turn, causing pressure for our opponent. Our side goal of the deck is to use Mr. Invincible as a backup. He has a Mega Blast ability, which is Counterblast 4, Soul Blast 6, and be able to restand all of your rear guards. This is an on-hit ability, but it can hit a rear guard, so take that as you will. The point of this deck is that all of the cards in it are rares or below. The only double rare we're playing in the deck is PGs, and that's just because you need them. I've only pulled 3 for Nova Grappler so far. Don't feel like you need to have them to play the deck. It's just you might as well play them if you have them. While we're talking about the grade 1s, I play the 4 Tough Boys because it's a common, so you can make it very easily, and it's an 8k butt, which is great offensively and defensively. Toolkit Boy is here as the tech of the deck. It's going to enable your plays more often. He has the ability that when he boosts your Vanguard, he's going to help you countercharge. So gold Rutile hits, you counterblast 2 to use his ability, restand a rearguard. Toolkit Boy countercharges. Hopefully then your rearguard hits. That countercharges as well because of gold Rutile's ability. You've essentially attacked with an extra rearguard for free. And then just to fill in the grade 1 slot, I'm playing Screamin' and Dancin' Announcer. Feel free to switch this card out with any other pieces that you want. I'm just liking it for the filtering it offers, because we need to make sure that we get to gold Rutile. Humpty Dumpty is here to make sure that our plays are going to happen. It's very rare when I notice that we don't have enough counterblast to be able to do our plays. Humpty Dumpty is here just to make sure that the worst case scenario doesn't happen. I love Transriser in this deck. It's the reason I use Battle Riser as our starter. Transriser is going to make it so we get more units out and be able to make more plays. He can whiff, you can hit, a grade 3, but the advantage that he gives us in terms of extra resources, I think is better than it is not. King of Swords is in here for the same reason as Tough Boy. It's easy to make and it's a big butt. Then as the last little filler slot, I'm playing the Kung Fu Kid. I just like it as the 11k body. Feel free to put anything else in here that you like. We already talked about gold Rutile. Touching back on Mr. Invincible again, his Mega Blast ability can be activated on rearguard, but that's very rare. What you typically need for the Mr. Invincible play is you ride Mr. Invincible, get the soul charge, and then re-ride a second one, and that's how you get the advantage of him. He's not a great card, so as soon as you have upgrades available, I'd start cutting him out rather than the other cards I'm going to start talking about. Lion Heat is our extender. He has a similar ability as gold Rutile, as when he hits Vanguard, you can counterblast 2 and restand a rearguard. The cool thing about Lion Heat is that his ability is on rearguard, so you can place him off to the rear and do some pretty cool combos with him. And all of those combos can kind of be done because of this guy, Deathmetal Droid. Back in the Japanese meta, there were some people that started to cut this guy because it doesn't seem that good on paper. But once you start playing, you'll notice that in this deck particularly, Death Droid is an amazing rearguard with the whole counterblast 1, get plus 3k. that is great in this deck, because let's say your opponent has an Ashura Kaiser or a Dragonic Overlord. This guy can hit it by himself. He doesn't need any boosts. In combination with Gold Rutile, if he ever hits the opponent's Vanguard, the counterblast is essentially free. So let's say you hit with Death Droid unboosted, Gold Rutile hits in with Toolkit, gets all the free hits of the counterblast. Gold Rutile will hit, counterblasting 2, Toolkit Boy countercharges. Death Droid can use that counterblast that it just got from that countercharge, hit, especially if it's boosted by something like Tough Boy, because then that's a 21 column that can hit anything. That hits, you get to countercharge that counterblast you just used, so then you can use that for your combos next turn. It is just kind of the centerpiece of this budget deck, and I also believe in just kind of even upgraded versions too. Our trigger lineup is 9 draws, 4 heals. We need the draws because we need to get to Golden Rutile. If you don't have Gold Rutile and you have to ride Lion Heat, it's not as of a feel bad, but if you have to ride Deathmetal Droid, you're never going to be able to catch up. So the draws are in here for the same reason as Screaming and Dancing Announcer, is just to make sure our plays can happen. Also, getting to our PG is very helpful. Talking about other budget options, you can feel free to play any of the starters you'd like. I'm just preferring Battle Riser because he gets better as you upgrade the deck, which I'll talk about later. And like before, I said he works really well with Trans Riser. Also, being able to use him as a draw 1, add another stand trigger to your deck is pretty useful to me. I do not like Claydol in the deck. The fact that we're playing Humpty Dumpty, I don't really like anyway. So playing more copies of it when we could just play Toolkit Boy, it just doesn't feel as good to me, because it's very rare when you need an on-place countercharger. Feel free to play around with your ratios of Humpty Dumpty and Kung Fu Kick Boy. If you feel like you need more pressure, go for Kung Fu Kick, and if you're noticing that maybe you're not utilizing your counterblast well, then stick with Humpty Dumpty. Upgrades for the deck that once you start pulling more packs: Brutal Jack and Ashura Kaiser do nothing but add to the deck. If you have any copies of these, just feel free to put them in the deck. Take out Mr. Invincible for your Ashura Kaisers, and then either Humpty Dumpty or Kung Fu Kick Boy for your Brutal Jacks. Magical Girl doesn't really add anything to the deck. If anything, she kind of hinders the deck because she will eat up your counterblasts, and we already have so much draw power in the deck. Both of the Death Army units, as in Death Army Lady and Death Army Guy, have a spot in the deck. Like, I prefer Death Army Guy because I feel like the grade 2 slot is already kind of full. But if you have Death Army Lady, feel free to put her in if you'd like to play around with that. Even though Cosmo Lord is a triple rare, it is not always better than Droid. Yes, they both become 13k attackers. Cosmo Lord requires you to be tapping down your boosters, and if you need those to be able to make hits in other columns, he is not going to be helping. If you are playing your Death Army guys and ladies, he becomes better, but unless you have them in a large quantity in your deck already, he is not always going to be the better unit. My thoughts about the deck is that it is very competitive, especially starting out at the gate. You will be able to get wins with this deck against the higher tier decks. There are times that Ashura Kaiser is not always the better grade 3. Yes, he does have a bigger butt with the 11k body, and he gets up to 2 restanding, and they are free. The thing is, though, it is based off of luck because you do need to hit grade 3s. Gold Rutile is a guarantee on hit restanding, so it does have more aggro capabilities. That does mean a defensive trigger will kind of ruin plays, so keep that in mind.